All right, welcome inside another edition of the 360 Sports Show. I'm Andrew Pezzelli, joined by Christian Lawber. The format for our show, we're going to lead with the biggest sports story of the week, or if something's just really bothering us, Christian does have a rant in him that he's going to get off his chest and get it out. We're going to exercise the rant from Christian.
We have to
here today. But we'll start with the biggest sports story of the week. Then we'll delve into some of the local sports stories for your New England sports teams. That is where we are right now. So those are the teams we're going to focus on. And then we'll delve into some larger stories across the major sports leagues and the wide world of sports. There we go. I struggle with something at the beginning every week now. We'll just we'll clip those all together for some buzzers later. Yeah. And then we'll get to your questions. You guys really can drive the show. Whatever you want to ask us about sports related, that can dominate the show. We love the questions we got last week. Keep sending them in. Remember to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at 360 Sports Show. You can email the show at the360sportshow@gmail.com. We're now available on iTunes, on the podcast app, Google Play, Spotify, wherever you want to find us. SoundCloud, you can go, you can like, you can subscribe. A lot of you already did that last week, and we appreciate you for that. Continue to spread the word, and we'll jump right in now. Christian, the biggest story of the week has to be this sign-stealing scandal that I think is going to turn into a Pandora's box for Major League Baseball. What are your initial thoughts on what has happened? Maybe kind of just if you want to give a brief synopsis of what's gone down so far, and then your initial thoughts on the scandal itself.
Well, right off the top, Manfred, the commissioner of baseball, came down way harder than I thought he was going to, right? And, when just to tie in the Red Sox a little bit, that Apple Watch thing with John Farrell, he said, if you do this again, watch out. But, I was thinking these guys would get maybe 50 to 100 games, but, man, they got hammered. $5 million, which is the max fine. The GM is gone. The head coach gone, and they're going to lose some draft picks for the next 2 years, first and second round, which is insane. But he said he was going to do it, and everything you've seen, it just keeps going down deeper and deeper. People are pulling up videos on Twitter and little
there's
buzzers
a wrinkle on this guy's shirt. Is that a buzzer?
And then the whole thing with Altuve, just quickly when he was holding his shirt coming from home. I saw him say he was like shy or something.
No,
the next year you were like ripping the thing up. Like, what are you talking about? So just off the top, he hammered him. And to be honest, I don't think it's unfair what he did. Now, a lot of guys lost their jobs, and Cora, we'll get into him a little bit more, tying the Red Sox with it. But, man, the Astros got hammered. And you just look at the numbers. Altuve was hitting like 400 at home in the playoffs in that 2017 playoff run. And then on the road, he was like...
He had an 1,800 OPS at home.
Yeah, insane. And then a 138 on the road. It's just like things add up. So I don't think it's unfair. I think they should have gotten hammered for it. And, I mean, they did. They really got it.
Yeah, and we don't even know yet. So right now, the Astros are the only penalized team by Major League Baseball. As you said, they suspended the manager and the GM. The team responded by firing those guys. They're going to be fined a lot of dollars in draft picks. And the Red Sox, preemptively, before any, whether or not there's backdoor dealings, we don't know. Whether or not there's a directive from Manfred, like, listen, I could blow the top off this even more, but you guys got to let. I think I've heard there was rumors that they were going to strip titles from both teams. We can get into later. I know we have a couple of questions on that, whether or not that's something that should happen or would happen. If they didn't do it to the Black Sox, I don't think it would happen. Happen now.
So. Yeah.
But the Red Sox mutually agreed to part ways.
Sam Kennedy tells us they mutually agreed. That's a very, very distinct detail. Please don't disinclude that.
Yeah,
okay?
they mutually agreed to part ways with Alex Cora. Carlos Beltran lost his job with the New York Mets before ever managing a game. Right now, it's just been the ringleaders, so to speak, the guys at the top, the managers, the general managers. Where do you come down, Christian, on whether or not players should start to be fined, suspended, because it, like you said, it's kind of, the league is kind of turning on itself. You've got a fraction of people, whether front office people or players. It was a player who started this whole thing by kind of spilling the beans on the Astros, and it's kind of one of those things. Once you open up Pandora's box and you start saying, well, hey, Altuve's wearing a buzzer. Well, then you go and say, well, Lindor is wearing, something on his ankle that tells him when, well, yeah, but Mookie Betts has an earpiece in his ear, didn't you know? And once you start, I don't know how you can investigate that. And if you decide to start treating it like PEDs, I mean, these guys' performances were enhanced.
Yep.
And the way you come down on steroids and the way steroids tainted the game of baseball, if you start to treat it like that, if you're Major League Baseball, do you just peel back all the layers and just see how incredibly, horribly tainted your game is? And does it ruin baseball in doing that? And is that why maybe they're not doing it? They want to just move on, because if they do start peeling back the layers, that's one big rotten onion.
Now, they did include it in the commissioner's report. Well, let me just say first, right? The fall guy in all of this, Alex Cora. He is all over the report.
The Astros report.
And, yeah.
We haven't even seen that Red Sox report yet.
Which right now I'm thinking, just to that point real quick, I think that the commissioner was like, hey, Red Sox, you got to get rid of this guy. And, we won't come down nearly as hard as you. Now, we'll wait to see the report, because they could get hammered too. I don't know. Because they did it once already with that Apple Watch thing. So if they get caught with anything, they're going to get screwed in a fair and just way, because, you can't be doing that, obviously. But Cora is kind of the fall guy for all of this. His name is everywhere in this thing. And going off the point of players, Carlos Beltran, I believe, on that Astros team was technically a player. He was really a player.
It's kind of like when you see a lot of those guys on teams who are veteran players that don't get minutes, but they're kind of essentially Kevin Garnett his last year in Minnesota, Vince Carter right now with the Hawks. They're coaches in a sense.
Player coaches.
Player coaches.
Beltran, he definitely was involved somehow. That's just now. Other players, I'm inclined to say they should be involved in some way. They're the ones kind of executing the whole thing, right? So Cora's name can be on it, but you can't tell me that no player was running down the hallway and banging on that's all player based.
How the players are involved because they need to be involved. If you're stealing signs and you're saying, "Hey, man, what do you think?" These guys, listen, I know most of these leagues aren't filled with Rhodes Scholars, but what do you think if you're standing at the plate? If you hear a banging on a trash can, it's an off-speed pitch. And do you think to yourself, like, maybe we have a psychic in the dugout who's telling us? No, you understand, hey, we're stealing signs somehow. Now, maybe you don't want to tell them how you're doing it exactly. These guys don't know the nitty-gritty details of what camera is being placed in the outfield or how, any of that stuff. You have to know. Those guys know. Anybody that's on a team where that's happening, something like that. With Patriots and Spygate, the original Spygate, that's something that's strictly being done within the coaching circles. We're trying to record signs, later on match them up to play calls, so that maybe in game, if we see the same thing, we could say, "Hey, let's call this play," or let's call this defense.
Ops, right?
That's operations. Players aren't aware of any of that because it's not something you can use in game. Stealing baseball signs you could use literally in the game, and if you're a player, the player has to know what's going on.
Exactly.
Which makes that slippery slope of, if they all know, how do you decide, well, that guy who does have the better splits at home versus on the road, clearly he was participating. Maybe he knew about it. How do you find the shoeless Joe Jackson in that?
Right, that's the thing.
The guy that said, "No, I'm going to stand at the plate and just be a hitter. I don't want to do this." Do you interview guys? Do you have to? You have to interview half the whole league if you start finding out what teams are doing what.
I don't think they want to do that. That's
they don't.
Why they're not. So
I think it would kill the sport.
Yeah, and another thing is, right, so you suspend 12 guys in the Astros. What, do they bring the AAA team up to play? No, they can't do that. They're not going to do that. They don't want to go down that rabbit hole of cluster. So they're not going to. But, it's like, hey, Altuve, when you get to the plate, right? Here comes a fastball, home run, walk off to go to the World Series. It's like, oh, so Cora gets suspended, but the guy going up there and doing it doesn't get suspended?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you can't. You
can't.
really can't.
They should.
Yeah.
I think they should. I think baseball's dying anyways. I think it's going to go the way of boxing and horse racing and anything else that was America's pastime.
Now, let me say that I think this whole thing does tie in with the pace of play.
Oh, 100%.
Because
we have a really good question about that we can get to later.
These analytics guys, right, like Hein Bloom, these analytics guys are saying, well, you got to hit it this way to get this guy. It's all analytics based. We got to shift here and shift there and do all this stuff. And all that does is hurt the pace of play because, you hear a guy banging on a trash can and you're on the mound. You step off the mound. Then the guy steps out of the box. Then you step back in the box. You don't know what's coming, so you step out. It's all tied in.
And then you got to change
together.
your signs because it's been 3 pitches and all that nonsense.
Here comes the catcher. Here comes the umpire. It slows down the pace of play, and it's become too much. It has become way too much. They got to do something about that. And I think it all ties in together. It's just the baseball is just like you said. It's kind of dying.
I don't think the league does not want to just shine a bright light on every team and decide to say, all right, we're gonna crack down on electronic sign stealing. What you say is they're doing the right thing by suspending the managers and the GMs because those are the guys who are going to implement these systems. So hopefully you nip in the butt anybody else doing it currently. And you see you set the tone for this is what's going to happen to you and this is what's going to happen to your organization. Don't do it. Now, if guys are wearing wires, I'm sorry, those guys have to be suspended. The MLB should look into. I mean, it was crazy though. The Twitter reactions, every little wrinkle in a guy's shirt.
Yeah. Some of them
are questionable,
suspect,
but again, it's. If you're baseball, you're not going to go through those pictures and then go talk to those guys. But the Altuve thing, I'm sorry. Anybody on the Astros, or if you find out that the Red Sox were stealing signs, any of those teams that are involved in this current investigation, if they should also be looking into any sort of devices. They said they did and didn't find anything. I'm sorry, you didn't look too hard. Or you said, just tell me you weren't wearing a wire we're good.
They're just trying to debunk it so it doesn't become a huge thing, right? Because once you look into the Astros, then what about the Yankees, the Red Sox?
Well, that's what happened. So say you nab the Astros for that. Like right now, is there kind of like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge? Listen, GMs, managers, you're going to fall on the sword, and we're not going to strip your teams of any titles. We're not going to suspend any of your players. Fall on the sword, and we can let this thing die. Because say you nab the Astros, you nab Altuve for wearing a buzzer, and he gets a lifetime ban or he gets a 3-year suspension. You know what he's going to do? He's going to come out and say, hey, listen, man, this was, Carlos told me all about this because when he was playing, so-and-so was wearing a wire. And then so now it just opens up that Pandora's box. And what the league does not want.
They're trying to avoid that.
They don't want the Pandora's box to be open. They don't want fans, the few fans that they have left.
The old-timers.
To feel like the game is just not on the level. Because already that's stealing signs is a part of it. And most everybody has already heard this and said this. It's using the technology to steal those signs in real time. That's the issue.
Can we just say everybody steals signs, right? That's just a thing. That's a thing
Everybody
in baseball.
cheats in sports.
Yeah. So when you're looking at it, the problem is not that you're stealing signs, right? If you have a guy on second base and he's trying to get an advantage of stealing signs. He has a clean view of it. Right, there's not much you can do about that. Maybe the unwritten laws of baseball, which is just a bunch of hoopla. But it's the problem.
I don't know what they are. Nobody's read them to me.
Right.
Nobody's told me.
But
so
the problem is,
how do you know?
You go down the tunnel and you're looking at the video monitor and you're seeing that becomes a problem because then you're just tapping into these guys like, here comes the fastball, here comes this, here comes this. Whereas guys on second base, these guys can have gamesmanship in a way where the catcher's changing up signs. He's throwing down 2 2s, 1 3. But if you're using technology, you can just see it. It's way different between using your eyes and using a video camera.
What does your gut tell you? Should teams be allowed to take video cameras and steal other people's signs in game and blah blah blah? No, this is not espionage. This is not war. This is not bad. It's not where like anything goes. It's sports. We want to see teams competing, not, hey, who has the best camera in the outfield that determines who wins.
Half the fun when you see a pitcher versus a batter is the duel between the two.
Christian,
right?
That's the basis of the entire game.
Yeah. So it's like
that the pitcher and the batter are not on the same team. I'm trying to throw this ball by you. You're trying to hit it. We're enemies. Yeah. Most other sports, you're trying to throw the ball to your teammate. Please catch this. Please shoot it. Please make it. Yeah. That's the essence of the sport, is that those two guys are on opposite sides of the playing field. They're across the line from one another, and if you know what's coming, that's the whole sport.
Yeah. You know what I've heard too is people saying, well, even though he knows it's a fastball, you still got to hit it. Well, yeah, no crap, but he knows what's coming. He's going to gear in on a fastball and crush it 400 feet.
And that Altuve play, the walk-off, that everybody has seen the videos of him coming to the plate against Chapman. You look at Chapman's face.
Oh, yeah.
He's in disbelief, not because somebody just hit a walk-off home run off of him. It's because he threw 2 balls at 100 miles an hour by him. That he took them for balls. How on earth are you sitting on an 84 mile an hour changeup? How can you even see that? You just got gassed 100 miles an hour by you, and then he comes with off speed 84 miles an hour. You should be swinging way early at that, because you're expecting fastball again for a strike. That's what Chapman does. And what makes him great, it's what made Mariano Rivera great, is you throw the cutter. You throw something a little off. You can gas up to the high 90s, 100 miles an hour, and then you come back with 82, 84, and those guys just can't see it. And so he's sitting on that? No way. No way. Or if you're sitting on it, you miss it.
He knocked the cover off that thing. That thing hit the train tracks pretty much. Like, there's absolutely no way. And, the way I read Chapman's look, he's got that subtle smirk like, they're doing something. Like, what the hell?
Like,
there's no way.
You kidding me? Yeah. You kidding me? And then to have Altuve, sprint to home plate and cover up his shirt.
Don't do the shirt, no.
Well, did you see the screenshot where you can see like something on the inside? Yeah. Now, is that just a piece of cotton? Is that anything? I don't know.
I know you say everybody's pointing out the wrinkles and stuff. Altuve's the one guy where I'm like, little fishy there with the buzzer. He's got something down there, because there's no way you're shy. Please.
Dude,
like we're stupid.
That guy loves to rip his shirt off.
I know. I saw like 800 other pictures of Twitter when they won. It might have been the World Series, or another series. Anyway, the thing's he's just like running around the infield. I'm like, you're shy.
That guy can't wait to take his shirt off.
Like, you're not shy. Please spare me.
Yeah.
But
kind of to tie this all in, we have some questions on the baseball stuff that we'll get to later. So. We won't go too much further with it. With the Sox impact of this, they decide to mutually part ways with Alex Cora. They have 6 weeks before spring training.
It's insane.
Which is crazy to think about.
Beep boop beep boop. Heim Bloom programming. He's trying to find his manager now.
Who do you think should be the Sox manager? I mean, we've heard all these. Do they just elevate the bench coach? Which, if the Sox were cheating in your Major League Baseball, how do you let that happen?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you want to just axe if they find out? Wouldn't that be? Here's what would be crazy: the Sox make Renicky the head coach, and then the MLB report comes out, and it's like, nah, he was totally part of it too. Yeah. They gotta axe him. They don't mutually part ways with him. They fire him.
They fired him. Yeah. I would say, in terms of what they're trying to find, I think these guys wanted someone like Cora because he played the game. He's bilingual, which helps.
He's a former Red
Sox. And even though, his name was all over the I think he was an okay coach. I really do.
They clearly wanted to keep him.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I'm like, MLB kind of like nudged him, like, get rid of this guy and you'll be off the hook or something of the like. But it will never know. But I don't know. So I've heard a couple names. Veritek obviously is like the key. Everybody wants Veritek. I don't know if he wants it. That's the problem. And I know Mike Lowell came out and said, I'll do it, but only if they're going to bring Cora back, which to me they're not going to do. You can't do that. Depending on how he's going to get hammered, I would guess.
No, I think
he's done.
Not that he should be done, but he'll be done.
I think
maybe 15 years from now he could get the Bobby Valentine treatment. Some team fires their coach and wants to tank for a year. They got nothing better. Like, let's bring Alex Cora and maybe we catch lightning in a bottle.
I'm not for ruining a guy's livelihood. Like, he doesn't deserve a lifetime ban, please. But somewhere down the line, I don't think he'll be a manager again. But if he wants to be like some down the line hitters coach, whatever,
I think he's going to get a 2-year suspension. I think that's what's going to that's going to come out. And the thing is, how far does that 2-year suspension actually linger for him? Does it linger for 5 years because nobody's offering him a job and it takes a while for him to he may have to go be a hitter's coach somewhere. And even still, is there going to be a taint on him? That remains to be seen. Crazy thought. The next manager of your Boston Red Sox is none other than the little leader himself,
Isaiah Thomas,
Dustin Pedroia.
Oh God, please no. I don't want that.
You're already paying him.
I don't want it.
There's no way they can move his contract.
They should have moved
unless you move him to the front office. What are the legalities of that? I got to find somebody who's an MLB cap expert. We have an NBA capologist who will be joining us when we get closer to the NBA trade deadline. I've brushed up on my Patriots cap stuff this week. We may not have time today to get to it, but we have a fun little free agency game that I intend to play with Christian. He can tell me the Patriots players he wants to keep, and then I'll tell him, you're $50 million over the cap.
We'll tease that by saying, look out, Patriots fans.
Yeah, if you just want to go off the numbers, it doesn't look good. But we have a whole offseason to talk. We have plenty of weeks here to talk Patriots offseason. But yeah, we need an MLB cap expert. Can you just transition a player into the front office and his salary just goes off the books?
I would hate.
I mean, technically he'd have to retire, right? Unless he's a player coach.
I would hate that. No.
He puts himself in the lineup every day.
He's just, sometimes I forget he's on the team because he doesn't really do anything anymore. And
he's a leader, Christian.
Let's be real.
He's a voice in that locker room.
I haven't seen him lead anything. David Ortiz was here. He hasn't played in I don't think. Personal opinion, he's a little overrated in this place because everybody loves him.
Well, he's just banged up. He's done. He signed one of those 8-year contracts that you only got 2 years out of.
Yeah, and he's been done. I think, you could look at someone like Eduardo Perez, who I think is with the Mets, if I'm not mistaken right now. Someone like that. Lowell, I would be intrigued by. But if you're going on that he's going to leave for Cora when no, you're not going down that.
You just have a lame duck at that point.
Yeah, so really, I honestly have no idea. They could hire some no-name from the AAA or something like that. It depends on what they want to do. But someone like Eduardo Perez or Veritek, I guess. But to be honest with you, I think this group of Red Sox wants more of a babysitter than they do a manager. And Veritek's kind of a hard ass, just from what you read and when he was here. He's a tough guy.
Well, Mookie Betts is definitely leaving now.
Yeah, gone.
I think him and Cora had a really good relationship. I think the odds are increasing that Mookie Betts is just going to walk out the door.
That's why I say, everybody's like, who do they want as a manager? Why don't we go ask the core guys? Why don't we get their opinion?
They'd want David Price.
Oh God. I think I would literally ship his ass out for chocolate coins right
now. What are the names of those those Easter coins?
Yeah, I don't even know, but they come in a little gold bag.
Half-eaten Entenmann's loaf.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what Christian would trade him for. Hey, we'll give
Goodbye.
you David Price. Just stock our soda machine for a week.
Yeah, exactly.
That's some Billy Bean stuff right there.
But man, I don't know what they're gonna do. It's so hard to say because you think Chaim Bloom is running the ship, but he's really not. It's all ownership. So,
Are the Red Sox further distancing themselves into last place amongst the Boston sports teams? I mean, I think.
Yeah.
Boston may always be a Red Sox town. They may be the biggest thing. But in terms of the direction they're heading competitively, with their roster, if they lose some of these guys, like Mookie Betts is probably one of the few players that I know like younger kids actually know his name and like care about and associate with. If you lose that guy and you lose the younger generation, I mean, how much do people really care who the next, like fans our age or younger? I feel like the Sox are going to quickly become the fourth team because people expect them to suck this year.
Yeah, they do. I think they're going to be better than people think. They have a competitive roster still. They need some pitching help, but they've gotten some bullpen arms.
Can they win more than 85 games?
Yeah, they could. I think so. You know, if pending health, you know, if Chris Sale goes down again, and he's got Tommy John or whatever. Probably not because he's one of your top guys. But they need a little bit more help. But I think they could be in the mix for that top spot.
They'll probably win the World Series. That's the pattern. Fire manager, first-year manager wins World Series, suck for a year. Usually they'd extend. It'd be like a couple of years of struggles like it was with John Farrell. But, you know, maybe they just went right with, hey, win a World Series? Oh, Alex Cora, you're starting to suck? Yeah, we want you out. We'll get the next World Series.
Yeah. So hire a manager, World Series, suck, fire, hire a manager, World Series. That's kind of what you're
It's kind of one of those just those, you know, rules, universal rule of sports. It's like with Ryan Fitzpatrick, you know. Signed as a backup quarterback, starter gets hurt. Fitzpatrick comes in, balls out, gets starter contract, sucks, gets cut, signed as a backup somewhere else, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. If Brady leaves, Ryan Fitzpatrick should be the quarterback of the Patriots so he can have played for every AFC East team.
We have gotten in a weird place now.
Christian's going to go take a shower now because he doesn't like the thought of that.
No, definitely not. I don't like Fitzpatrick, and I don't like Dustin Pedroia as a manager of the Red Sox. But at the end of the day,
if Belichick and Brady leave, Pedroia managing is the head coach of the Patriots with Ryan Fitzpatrick as the quarterback
of the Red Sox.
Yeah.
Back to the manager thing real fast. I have a feeling it's going to be some no name. I really do. But to answer your question, we can get into this. This is a good topic for another day.
It's Watson. They're going to get the IBM computer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. It's a good topic for another day. But I would say in terms of like the teams in this town, I think a lot of people would put the Red Sox like 2 or 3 just because, you know, the old timers love the baseball thing and it still has that thing with it. But as we move on, I think baseball's slowly going down the other way. So I think if you ask me, I would say, you know, Pats obviously with their success. Then you got to go probably Celtics or Bruins and then Red Sox. So I would think they're last, but you know, this stuff going on right now is why, you know, it just all ties into this whole thing about baseball. It's just kind of that dying breed and they need to do something. But at the end of the day, they really don't. So it is what it is.
Yeah. Let's transition now. NFL playoffs. Last week, we made some predictions. Some were right. Some were very wrong. Some were half right. I thought the Texans would be competitive with the Chiefs. And that was true for 22 minutes.
Man, you go up 20-0 in that building. Fake punt, stupid. That was so dumb by
Bill O'Brien is so lucky that this thing has broken up and blown up about MLB and the Astros because Houston just doesn't care about the Texans right now at all. What's funny, though? To even want him to be fired.
The Texans just fired like the offensive assistant. I'm just like, what are we doing? Are you kidding me? But you know, the Chiefs, they kind of did like they came out super flat. But man, that offense gets going and Mahomes.
Oh, once they're going, the momentum. It's like in basketball when like the Warriors would go on one of those like crazy like 24-0 runs and they just would hit 8 threes and you're like, all right, timeout.
I want to say the Titans today have a shot in this game, but I'm just inclined to be like they're gonna get run out of this place.
It totally depends on the type of game. So I think. Texans collapse, horrible, absolutely deplorable. I think it says more about the Texans than it does about the Chiefs. We learned more about the Texans than we already knew about the Chiefs. The Chiefs were capable of that. As far as ranking the comeback, I consider situation and opponent when when rating that comeback.
Yeah, I mean we've seen the Chiefs put up 17 in 3 minutes. This team does that,
And there was tons of time left in that game. The Chiefs took the lead.
yeah,
The Texans went to the locker room, could have settled things down. They should have come out in that second half trying to go fast. And instead, I'm watching most of that second half. Okay, we're down 17 with 3 minutes to go in the third. Let's huddle up. Let's call a play and just take the entire play clock. It's like, I know you want to get it right. Like, the drive is important. You want to get it right. But that defense, if you're gassing them and moving up the field, you need to play for possessions, because the Chiefs, if you give the ball back and you kick a field goal or punt back to them, well, they're going to go ripping down the field and maybe score a touchdown.
yeah.
You saw that like you said, the two biggest things of why the Texans lost that game, and I put it 100% on Billy O'Brien: the fake punt, unnecessary, not going for 4th and inches on the 13-yard line when you're rolling. That's having no feel for the game. Not going no huddle in the second half until you were down 20-something with 5 minutes left. And then they were down 17 with 6 minutes to go, and they lined up to punt at midfield, and then they had to call a timeout because Deshaun Watson was like, what are we doing? Just go for it.
Yeah.
Who cares? We're down 17 points.
Yeah.
The coaching.
I'm surprised O'Brien's still's there, honestly.
Well, he's not going to fire himself because he has managerial control.
It's crazy, but
So unless the owners wanted to get rid of him, and by all accounts, the players all like him, and play for him. They play hard. I think the Texans played hard, but I don't think Billy O'Brien kind of got that deer in the headlights look and just didn't know what he pulled the Andy Reid thing where you're just going to start burying yourself in the play sheet. And
here comes Mahomes, and they're just running it right down the field. Mahomes is chucking it all over the yard, and then it's like, oh, wow, it's 17-24. What the hell do we do? Or 14-24, 21. Here they come. And he panicked. The whole team panics, and then, you're down, 50-30. It's like,
yeah.
What do you do?
My other reaction from last weekend is that I'm still not sold totally on the Packers. They're winning in a different way. They're not totally reliant on Rodgers because they have a bit of a running game. Their defense, I think their defense is quasi-legit. They shut down a Seahawks team. They control the Seahawks team that really has no true weapons outside of Russell Wilson because they couldn't protect for him. And they couldn't run the ball. Lockett is I don't want to say he's a one-trick pony, but he's a speed guy.
Well, yeah, but
they were able to bracket him and DK Metcalf for all the hype around him this season. He just couldn't get open.
To be honest with you, in that game, two things I learned. The Seahawks, I never thought were that good, to be honest with you. Because all year, it was literally a one-man show in Russell Wilson. And if you want to talk about true MVP, he's it.
Oh, yeah.
But that team, I didn't think was that great. And, hey, Pete Carroll, you might want to cover the Packers' only wide receiver.
Yeah.
Dude, how do you let Devontae Adams go for 6-7 catches for 160 yards and 2 touchdowns?
Some of those, I will give Aaron Rodgers credit. I don't know how on earth he does it. Drifting back in the pocket, off his back foot, flicking the ball sidearm, and he gets it on a rope, and then it dies in midair and falls into Adams' arms over perfect coverage. The dude makes some sick throws. But yeah,
he's the only wide receiver.
The Seahawks, just double him straight up, just double him off the line of
they
scrimmage.
Have Jimmy Graham, maybe, and their run game, which is decent. But I'll say one thing: the only reason I give them a shot, which I think San Francisco is going to win today, but Aaron Rodgers was pretty damn good in that game against the Seahawks. Now, granted, it's the Seahawks, and I think they were a little overrated.
Their defense was bad all year long.
It was, but man, if he gets on a run, look out, because he can go right down the field, march him right down the field. He's that good, and I mean, he made some special throws like you were mentioning. Regardless of the defense, he still has to make that throw.
Yeah.
And he's pretty insane once he gets going.
Yeah.
So I give them a chance, but I think ultimately the 49ers just win.
I'm rooting against them so hard because I just don't want the State Farm Bowl. I do not want Rodgers and Mahomes in the Super Bowl because they have some pre-taped commercials, and it's just going to be insufferable for 2 weeks. Like Media Day at the Super Bowl, they're going to have that guy, the actor who's the State Farm agent, planted all over the place. Oh, God, it'd be disgusting.
Man, no.
And I believe the fix is in for that.
I'm kind of rooting for Rodgers and Mahomes. I think that would be a fun one.
wouldn't be able
I
to
think
take it.
Rodgers is a dink, but man, he's fun to watch. He's good. I ultimately, same prediction as Chiefs, 49ers.
Yeah, I'm saying my heart is rooting for the Titans. So hard rooting for the Titans.
What happened to the Cinderella story? You were going Titans last week.
And then I saw the Chiefs finally become the Chiefs. We they were a very mediocre team in the second half of games.
Yeah.
This season.
Well, let me say
they finally found who they were last year, where it was that we just turned on the buzzsaw and we're going to score 5. They scored what? 7 straight touchdown drives, something like that. Something insane, which is what they're capable of. But we hadn't seen it all year.
One thing to note:
if they have that going, the only way the Titans can win that game is because the Chiefs still can't stop the run. Derrick Henry runs for 200-something yards, and the Titans have the ball for like 38, 40 minutes. Literally, that is the only way.
Well, out of all the playoff teams, the Chiefs are the last in run defense. So that's the one area where if they control the game, but I'll tell you right now, if you let Mahomes just march down the field twice in a row, it's 14-0. Look out.
No, the Titans defense. Yeah. Now, I didn't think they had it in them to stop Lamar Jackson. I didn't think they had the personnel to do that. I think it's an even worse matchup this week because Mahomes is actually going to make those throws.
Yeah, because he can do both.
He can get outside the pocket a little bit and run if he has to, but he's got a cannon. You have to defend the whole field with your passing defense, and they don't have actual pass rushers. They're not going to be able to get pressure with just 3 or 4 guys.
And I think Mahomes is healthy now.
And you play man-to-man coverage against the Chiefs. I just think a guy like Tyreek Hill is going to be licking his chops. I don't know. Listen, stranger things have happened. However the game plays out, the Titans go down and score on there. They take the ball. They go down and score. They're up 7-0. The Chiefs fumble a kickoff. Once the game, I do think the Titans have something about them. They have that 07 Giants type of feel about them. I'll tell you what. They win today and blow through the top 3 teams in the AFC all on the road, and then you give them 2 weeks off. That team believes.
Yeah, that's a big part of it.
I think then you get to kind of relax and obviously a Super Bowl is a neutral setting.
They're a physical team, and Vrabel's got them playing at a high level. The coaching has been great, but I don't think they have enough. In this game, if you have Tannehill throw for 80 yards, you're not going to win.
That's the thing.
You're not going to win.
Tannehill is going to, at some point in this game, the Chiefs are going to go on a run. You might fall behind 14 points. Maybe you can't stick to the running game. Tannehill cannot throw just 13 times this game. He's going to have to make throws. He's going to have to make some plays with his arm for them to win. But yeah, my predictions today are Niners and Chiefs.
Turning on the Titans. Turning your back on them.
I just can't. I can't be wrong 2 weeks in a row.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
I'm just feel I got a lot of flack for picking for making some horrible football. I picked too much with my heart last week.
Yeah,
and so now I have to come back with some intelligence. So that means that the Packers and the Titans are going to the Super Bowl.
Going to the Super Bowl, yeah. They're gonna do, so maybe I should take the opposite that you're taking.
Yeah. For once, I'm taking your view, Christian, where you're like, I'm just so pessimistic and negative, so I'm pleasantly surprised. If it's Packers Titans, I would love that. That would be such a weird, wonky. You'd watch.
If I have to watch,
it's the Super Bowl.
Yes, I will.
Nobody doesn't watch the Super Bowl.
But if I have to watch Derrick
people
Henry,
who don't even like sports watch the Super Bowl.
But watching the Titans run the ball,
Shakira, you're watching.
I'm not watching that.
We don't have to fret at the halftime. We don't have to have one of those halftime Super Bowl phone calls where the Patriots are down 20 points and we're trying to talk ourselves. Listen, the defense is going to make some plays. Brady and McDaniels will make some. There's no stress this year, Christian.
Which is nice.
I might actually be able to watch the halftime show.
But I'll tell you what, the Super Bowl without the Patriots in it is like more for the food and all of the hoopla than it is like the actual game, depending on the teams. If I have to watch Derrick Henry run the ball 30 times, I think I'll be a little bit bored. I'm not going to lie.
I'd love it.
Now, if they just go into Miami and they do the opposite of what they've done all year, Derrick Henry gets 2 carries for like 30 yards, and Ryan Tannehill's like,
I'd love it.
60 passes for 400 yards.
I'd love it. He pulls a Joe Flacco and just goes bananas in the championship round in the Super Bowl, and then
that happens,
he gets some mega contract to go just suck with the Titans or somewhere else. He comes to the Patriots. They sign Brady, and we sign Ryan Tannehill.
Unbelievable. We said this last week. We said this last week.
Do not adjust your dial.
But Ryan Tannehill...
We're taking over your reality.
Ryan Tannehill threw for like 70-something yards against the Pats, won that game because of Derrick Henry. The Ravens, he threw for like 80, and they're just winning these games. I think your run game has to be insane today, and you have to win on special teams. Kern, I think we've said, best punter in the league. Yeah. So he's a weapon. But Kansas City, I just have that feeling Kansas City is just going to run them out of the gym.
It happened last year with the Patriots. The Patriots got up 14-0, had a great first half game plan. They had a great game plan in general, but then when the Chiefs really wanted to get going, they found their groove in the second half, and then Tom Brady elevated himself for a half and had one of those all-time type of fourth quarters and overtimes. I don't believe if that happens at Ryan Tannehill.
If I'm Vrabel, I'm like, okay, we win the toss. I take the ball. We try to score first, and then kind of let it roll like that. Maybe manage the clock, because that's kind of what the Patriots did. And you don't want to get into a track meet with these guys, because Tannehill Mahomes is not even close.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to transition away from our lead takes. We're going to delve into some of the local sports stories. Christian is wearing a Celtics hoodie today. Christian, the Celtics have officially hit the skids. They have now, in consecutive games, wasted a 40-point effort from Kemba Walker and a 37-point effort last night from Marcus Smart. Set the record in the TD Garden, 11 made threes.
He shot 22.
He is soon at 50%. He is soon going to become the all-time leading three-point shooter in the Garden. He may go down. If he stays with the Celtics, he may become their all-time leader in made threes if he stays with the Celtics for his whole career. But the Celtics lose both of those games. They get down big again. They're having these terrible starts. Yada, yada, yada. I yield the rest of my time to you. Go.
It's not good. Let me tell you, it's not. So I'm ready to declare the season over. I'm serious about this. Just watching them play, their bench is. I'd rather watch Kenny Anderson and Rafe LaFrentz. Like, I'm not kidding. Their bench stinks. They have not. We talked about this briefly last week. I'll get to Gordon Hayward and Tatum in a second. But their bench, I honestly think if you give me $200K, I'll go stand in the corner and I'll just sit there. Because that's what their guys do. Last night, we'll go backwards a little bit because they got blown out by Detroit at home. Then they go to Milwaukee and just get their absolute doors blown off in Milwaukee. And they lost by 5, but really that's a 20-point loss. It's a 15, 20-point loss. And then last night, they had nothing again. It's like opening play, Marcus Smart comes down, takes his first of 22 threes. Marcus Smart should not be shooting 22 times from 3. I'm sorry. I don't care if he makes 22 of them. He shouldn't be shooting that much. Devin Booker, of course, went off again for 40 points. But they have nothing. I really believe they have absolutely nothing. Wanamaker, your best player last night off the bench was Tremont Waters, and he doesn't see the floor much. He was a plus 17, which in 17 minutes, plus 17. Pretty good. And they honestly went on their first run when he came in the game and started making some plays. And their starters didn't help you last night either.
They don't have scoring off the bench. They have plenty of hustle and grit and defense and smarts. But they don't have scoring from their bench unit. They don't. They can get scoring on odd nights. You know, a guy like Grant Williams might make some hustle plays. Maybe he gets 6-7 points. Wanamaker maybe hits a 3. But you don't have a single guy on that team that you actually legitimately want taking like 10 shots
Three guys were positive last night. Javonte Green, who was pretty decent. Tremont Waters.
He's just a hustle guy, though.
He's better than Grant Williams.
Yeah, I mean, but he's an athletic guy. He might be able to attack the rim, but he doesn't. He's not a shooter. They need shooting.
He made a three.
Yeah, he can make a three.
He was 1-1 on threes. Wanamaker 0 for 2 from 3. Waters 0 for 3. But he gave you something in that first little run there. He was a plus 17, like I said, 4 points, but plus 17 in 17 minutes. And he started creating once they went on that little run. Smart, career night, obviously, for him. Still minus 11. Hayward, 8 of 20. And early in the game again, I'm like, here we go with Hayward. I don't know if he wants to be traded or what is going on. Maybe he's injured with that foot still, but he's having a hell of a time right now. I think
he's hearing the noise. I don't think he wants to leave. I think he loves Boston. I think his family's happy here. I think he's settled. He's kind of one of those guys that seems like he's not going to want to just like transition his life every 3 years. They just had another kid. I think he wants to stay. I think he might be listening to the noise. You saw it last night. It happens. Guys miss shots. He missed that alley-oop. He didn't get that to go in a key spot. And you could just kind of see the 1,000-yard stare in his eyes. And, Marcus Smart comes over, who is a leader. He's a true leader on that Celtics team.
Yeah, I agree.
Comes over, pats him on the chest like, hey, man, like, it's okay. Bro. Hey, let it go. It's all right. And then coming out after the game and supporting him, on social media and stuff. I wonder if Gordon's kind of hearing some of those whispers and it's affecting him. It's hard not to. I mean, everybody's human, but you have to try and tune it out and just play ball.
But even when he was playing well, like earlier in the year before that hand injury, his shot is not there. He can't really. I don't know what the problem is, but every time he gets, I'm like, here he's gonna clunk this one.
Well, what's the? I mean, he has had some clunker games, but what's the expectation? I thought in the beginning of the year he was their best player. Kemba was trying to get his feet,
beginning of the year.
He was trying to get his feet wet, and he was attacking. He was facilitating. I think he's kind of regressed a little bit into not being as aggressive. Maybe that's because of an injury, something lingering.
I think it's because let me get into the coach real quick here.
Okay.
Because I have a problem with Stevens.
I'll step back again.
Yeah.
The floor is yours.
Real quick. His like, I don't know, his like, his greatness is wearing thin. I don't really understand his rotations on a nightly basis. He does one thing one night, one thing the next. And
they also were missing Kemba and Jaylen Brown.
Okay, what
last
about
night.
the other 6 games they lost?
I'm not gonna let that. I'm not off the hook for that. But as far as rotations go, they've kind of had to be shuffling things the last couple of games.
You start Grant Williams, who absolutely sucked last night.
Who else would you start?
Anybody?
All right, Daniel Tice, you're going to start with Cantor.
I would start Hayward at the 4 and put Green in at the 3. Grant Williams gave you nothing last night, and even he's on a rough stretch too. He's given you nothing the last few games, and he's one of those guys that's he's got to come in, give you high energy. They need someone to come in and do anything because my main issue is Stevens and the bench. The bench blows. And they need to get help there. Otherwise, I think they're cooked. Because, I'm sorry, you can't beat the Phoenix Suns with... I understand you're missing Kemba and Brown, which I think Kemba is a big one because he can go off. But you should be able to beat that team with 2 out of your 4 best players. There's no reason why you can't beat them. And you get outscored in the first by 4. They chip away and they lengthen this lead, and it's just on and on and on and on. And anytime they need a big shot, they're on a run. Here they come, down 5, wide open look, clunk. Then they get a 3. Booker comes down and gets whatever he wants. They're not doing anything well enough right now to win these games. And they're losing to middlers, the crap of like Detroit at home, and you just get dusted by them. Like that can't happen. And I understand it's the middle of the season, but you're going to be looking at seeding. There's a tight grip there on that middle of the standings. And I'm not convinced you get out of the second round without home court. Miami or someone like that comes in, they could easily beat you, and they're ahead of you right now, but not good.
No.
Not good.
I'd say out of all the teams, they're the most frustrating right now because what's going on with the Sox, honestly, nobody cares. Nobody really cares. No. Games aren't being played yet, so nobody cares. As far as the Red Sox go, it's not frustrating anyone. The Patriots season is already over, and everybody kind of saw that coming. The Bruins, we will touch on them briefly, but night in and night out, you kind of know what you're going to get with them. I mean, hockey has its random things that happen on a night-to-night basis, and there's so much parity in that league. The Celtics are by far the most frustrating case.
You know what's the most frustrating part about it is you have a lot of talent, and they should be better than they are, and they're just not. There's no consistency. You know, the injuries are one thing, but they've had these guys healthy for stretches of games. And they were healthy in the Detroit game. What happened there? You know, Brown's been out he might have missed that one, but he missed Milwaukee. And the reason you have all these wings is if some guy goes down, Brown goes down, you have Tatum and Hayward. They should be able to pick up that slack. And realistically, you'd like a bench player to come in and do anything, but they don't. They literally don't have a bench right now, and that's a huge issue. And I think
they try to fill their bench with rookies.
And I'm not saying Stevens is the worst, but I don't think he's as good as everyone thinks. I think when he first got here, he was getting the most out of these guys, and now it's like these guys are young.
Well, because he had a team of B players. Your starters were basically interchangeable with your bench. And you could get that kind of balanced scoring. Now you have a bunch of A players and some C- players. And the C- players are giving you nothing. They're not elevating themselves. Now, I see them get open shots. The coach's impact on basketball is to know when to call timeouts, know when to deliver a message to your team.
Does he do
that? Install certain systems. Fun. The way the Celtics, the way they play the pick and roll, the way their offense moves, they get themselves because of his system wide open looks.
Oh yeah, no,
it's a players' league more than any other, and they're for whatever reason guys just aren't making shots. Against Milwaukee, the Celtics shot horribly from three. If they had just an average 3-point shooting night, they win that game by 19.
The problem is they shoot threes too much when they're missing every single one. They go in stretches where they shoot a three every time up the floor.
But if you have a wide open look,
but some of the times it's step backs in the middle of a 0-10 run, and Tatum's trying to take a step back. Just go to the basket for something.
Yeah.
Just get something in the middle of the lane. And Steven, you mentioned the timeout. There's been games this year when they get a good pick and roll, and it doesn't look like it's anything, but Kemba comes off a screen and it's wide open, and he's timeout right in the middle of a three. I'm like, what are you doing? And then last night, the Suns are they're not dwindling, but they look like they're giving momentum back to you. So we're coming on a run here. Celtics are coming on a run, and they put in their guys again. Booker, Ayton. And Brad leaves Wanamaker and these guys out there. There's like 7 minutes to go in the game, and you're down like 10. And you're on a run. And their guys aren't in there. But then they come back in. So then why don't you put your guys back in? It just makes no sense to me. They put Booker and Ayton back in. They just go back up. And the Celtics make their runs in the fourth quarter, but it's too late. You're already down 20.
Yeah, I think it's kind of one of those things where they've been losing games, but I don't think there's any sort of pressure like, oh my God, Stevens is on the hot seat and feeling pressure to win games. So you stick to your rotations because you have a plan for your season. You don't want to just run your starters for 48 minutes a game just to win a game. I think we as fans feel, I want them to win, so put these guys back in. I know you usually bring them back in with 5 minutes to go, but bring them back in now. They're bringing their guys back in. And I think it does take commitment to stick to, this is my rotation. These are the times we're going to bring guys back. We're already shorthanded. We're banged up. I don't want to play Marcus more. I don't want to play Tatum more. Tatum's been dealing with some leg injuries.
Yeah, knee injury.
So it's a tough line to toe when you're on a skid and you're not playing well and you want to win games, especially shorthanded the way they were last night, the Suns want to bring, they bring their big guns back in. Do you bring yours back in at the same time? Or do you think, can I just steal 90 more seconds out of this game?
I agree.
Before bringing those guys back in.
I'll say this. I think they could go on a run after the All-Star break. I'm not saying the season's over. I said that at the top.
They will not get out of the second round if they do not get bench scoring. Whether internally guys improve, whether they shuffle the lineup somehow, or if they make a trade, they need bench scoring. That is the biggest need. I've seen this team with their undersized lineup win the rebounding battle. They will be fine. I don't think you should sell your soul to get DeAndre Jordan. Well, hey, take him, but Andre Drummond or a guy like that just to match up with the Bucks.
No, you don't need that. You don't need that.
You just need some scoring from your bench unit. You are at the bottom of the league. The other stat, and this is kind of last point on the Celtics, and I think as far as a trend with the current players they have is the lack of bench scoring is evident, but a really bad trend something that I am worried about, something that could be systemic. The way they start these games in the last 10 games. Tell me what these teams have in common. I'm going to list some names for you. Houston Rockets, Milwaukee Bucks, Lakers, Clippers, Mavericks. What do you think those teams have in common?
Tons of scoring.
Well, they are your top 5 for points in the first half of games. The Rockets, number 1, they average 60.5 points in the first half of games. I'm going to list some other teams for you. Chicago Bulls, Golden State Warriors, Oklahoma City Thunder, Utah Jazz, Orlando Magic, Sacramento Kings, Hornets, Knicks, Cavaliers. What do you think those teams have in common?
Bad.
They are in the basement for points scored in the first half. Your Boston Celtics are wedged right in there with all of that crap.
Yeah.
Their start. Let's even pull up. Let's see if I can probably get this to just first quarter scoring.
Well, quick point while you're doing that. The Celtics are 4-6 in the last 10 games, and they're kind of falling here where
bottom 5.
Yeah.
Knicks, Magic, Cavs, Warriors are the only team, and it's by tenths of a point below you. Above you in scoring in the first quarter are the Kings, the Bulls, the Nuggets, the Thunder, the Hawks, the Hornets, the Spurs, the Suns, the Nets. Terrible.
That's not a place you want to be.
Now, the flip side, the Bucks, the Rockets, the Clippers, the Mavericks. What do you think they have in common?
Probably all good things.
They're all very good in the second half as well. All those teams have really good records because they're good in the first half and the second half.
It was apparent the other day in Milwaukee. You got guys coming off the bench for Milwaukee, and they're just raining threes.
Yeah.
Vincenzo, these guys.
And now some of them, again, I watched. I didn't see all that game and went back and watched. A lot of it was those guys just made shots. It wasn't oh my God, the defense was terrible. Those guys
They left.
I'm sorry, George Hill. I like him, but at this point in his career, he's making between the legs step back threes with a guy draped on him.
He has the highest 3-point percentage in the league.
I know, but
Brook Lopez also has a pretty good percentage. He's improved, so why don't you get out and guard him? They left him open 3 times in a row.
I'd take my chances with that team shooting threes as opposed to letting them get in the paint. They're so big.
That's all they do is shoot threes. Why don't you guard the line?
Bulls, Heat, Knicks, Warriors, Magic, Hornets, all in the basement in the second half. All teams were in the basement in the first half as well, and they all collectively suck. Headed to the lottery. The Celtics, where do you think they rank in second half scoring?
Probably middle of the league.
They are number 2.
Oh, okay.
In
so
second
better
half
than
scoring.
I thought. Yeah.
They are only behind the Milwaukee Bucks.
You know why? Because they get a fire under their ass when they're down 4.
They are one of the few teams in here that are terrible in the first half, but great in the second half. They have it in them. You see it.
Oh, yeah.
They go through stretches. They just cannot put it together for a full 48 minutes right now. And I don't know if that's just thinking your own, you think your poo smells good, so you just think you can show up and roll out the balls, and we're gonna win, and hey, we'll turn it on when we need to. If there's anything that the team needs to fix, it's that mentality, and maybe they don't actually. It's not one of those things that you say. You don't say, "Hey, we're just gonna show up tonight and win." You have to go out there and just start some of these games. I mean, don't fall behind by 15, 17 points every single night.
Yeah, it's talent-based, but you got to go out there and play because they're losing it to not great teams. And I'll finish up with this point. I don't think they're not done, but those two things that we're mentioning coincide because you come out, right, and you're sluggish and you're down 10, and then here comes your bench who can't score, right? So they can't score. Then you go down 20, and then in the second half you have to come out and be a buzzsaw. But if your starters are going down by 15, and then your bench comes in who can't score, you're in trouble. Because our bench usually has Tatum or Hayward out there with them. But you're in trouble if your starters aren't scoring and you're getting down, and then your bench comes in who can't score and you're losing. So those are the two things you need to address.
To transition here, we said the Boston Bruins were not necessarily a frustrating team. This just in off the wire. Boston Bruins blow a 3-0 lead to the Pittsburgh Penguins, giving up 4 straight goals to lose.
Yeah, not good.
Not good. However, not nearly as embarrassing as what has got to be the worst shootout attempt I have ever seen in my life. Ever. Bar none. Brad Marchand's shootout attempt against the Flyers is the worst shootout attempt I have ever seen. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I've seen guys come in and just totally screw it up and shoot wide of the net or trip and fall over themselves. They got the puck on their stick.
Yeah, but if the rule is different, I don't think you're saying that.
What? If the rule is what?
If he barely touched the puck. So if the rule is, okay, he didn't get going forward, so the puck comes back, he gets another shot, right? Something like that. It's not because,
but it's not the rule. But the rule is get the puck and move it forward. When the rule is get the puck and move it forward, first thing you should make sure you do is get the puck.
Yeah, I agree. It was not.
This is not high school. It's not. I would not be ripping a college kid for doing that because it happens. I'm sorry. You are a paid, handsomely professional athlete. You are paid handsomely.
I agree.
It is your job. It is. I would rather airball 2 free throws than have that shootout attempt on my resume. Does not take anything away from Marchand. He is a fantastic player. I want him on the Bruins. He's a big part of why they're competitive. He's a superstar. That's why it's even more embarrassing.
Yeah,
this is not some Providence call up who got nervous. What are you doing, bro?
He just overskated the puck. I don't think it's that. I don't think it's as egregious as.
You can take as much time as you want. You don't have to sprint up to the puck.
I don't agree that it's that egregious as you're saying, but it is super embarrassing.
It was bad.
It was bad, but I don't know. If it was on another team, I'd say the same thing. I just he overskated the puck. Pretty dumb. You should get the puck on your stick, but it's I'd almost rather him do that and end it because the Bruins suck anyway in shootouts than go down.
Oh, it's not like he was going to score, but
it's embarrassing. But I don't know. It didn't bother me as much as other people. It really didn't. I don't know.
It didn't bother me.
No,
it doesn't keep me up at night, but it was embarrassing.
Shootouts at the end of the day don't.
It epitomized where the Bruins are in overtime this year. They go to overtime, they're either gonna lose or they're gonna lose in a shootout.
Yeah, that's just
which again does not. It doesn't impact, I think, their long-term goals and where they can get to because there's no shootouts in the playoffs. But they have got something wrong. I don't know what it is that's wrong with them. They're blowing games. It's one thing to lose games. They are blowing games. 3-0. And I know that Pittsburgh's good.
Pittsburgh's good, though.
But it's not like you were back and forth. It's not like it was 3-3 and you're going back and forth and battling and you lose a grinded out kind of game. You shouldn't be blowing multiple goal leads.
They scored 3 goals in the first period. They came out on fire. They scored 1 in the first minute. And
you should be able to tighten down and win that game.
Crosby made a nice play at the end of the first, so it's 3-1 going into the second. It's It's one of those things that shouldn't happen. If it was like Florida or something like that, which happened already, it would piss me off a lot more. Pittsburgh's really good, and they just got Crosby back. They're getting healthy again, and that's a pretty good team. I don't want to say it's like it definitely shouldn't happen. You should be able to get at least a point out of that to go up 3-0. But you're going in the second intermission. Pittsburgh. I watched the first period and a half, and I'll go back and watch the rest to see what the hell happened. But the Bruins came out and they scored 2 quick ones. They scored one maybe in the latter half, and then Pittsburgh kind of got momentum. They kind of got going a little bit. So you went 1-1 with them in the home and home, but you should have won that game today.
Moving on from the Bruins, not really too many other big storylines in the league. We hit on the NFL playoffs. We hit on Major League Baseball. Briefly want to touch on something in the NBA very briefly. If you didn't know, Ja Morant is
insane,
amazing.
We definitely agree on this one.
He is absolutely amazing to watch.
How's that Memphis pick looking, by the way?
Not good. Terrible. Ja Morant is just a stud, and I don't care. I think if Zion Williamson were healthy and playing, there is nothing he could do. He could not be. He might make a couple athletic plays like defensively, and he's going to have 1 or 2 thunderous dunks.
Yeah.
He is not going to have the effect on a game that Ja Morant is having right now. So the NBA needs Zion to come back, but I'm sorry, it does not matter. Appointment television right now is Ja Morant.
Yeah, between him, there's a few guys in the league that are just must watch right now. Him, Doncic, and they're just the two of them are going off. And Morant specifically, this guy's a rookie. It's insane what he's doing. He's a rookie, and he's kind of taken over.
He's coming for everybody.
Yeah, he really is. And
the way Harden left him alone from 3, and then he just was draining threes in his face all night.
He's got that team. They play hard. They play hard night in, night out. And for sure agree with you that even if Zion was here, people get all excited about Zion. Dunks are only worth 2 points, right? Morant does everything. He's got skill. He can handle it. He can even throw it down. He threw it down over some guy the other day on, I forget, Cleveland maybe?
Yeah.
But he's just doing everything. And
he can shoot. His passing's amazing.
He's got them playing just their nails. And even if they're losing games, they play hard.
I think they're going to scrape their way. If they continue to play this way, because they've been on a tear, they're going to get that 8 seed in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They're gonna make the playoffs, and they will be a tough out. And I love it. I've always kind of liked the Grizzlies, especially when they got Tony Allen and they had those early 2010 teams that were just slow paced, all defense. You had Gasol and Zach Randolph.
By the way, their old time jerseys, fire. Those things are
absolute
amazing.
Fire.
Yeah, I love them, and the Jazz have the 2 best. Those things are just great. And to see, like you were saying, they had those old time. They're always been tough, and this kid is just he's completely taken over the team.
And very quickly, another Rookie of the Year candidate, Markelle Fultz.
Yeah, actually, this is kind of a nice story because man, when he was with it was not good. That shoulder issue he was having. But man, every night I see something.
It's amazing how
he beat the Lakers.
His shoulder. You mean the shoulders between his ears?
Yeah. And supposedly the thing with his shoulder was bad to the point where he had to relearn how to shoot and everything. It wasn't even just mental. It was.
Oh yeah, no, it's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's insane.
I was making fun of him, and then I looked up what was actually what they say was actually wrong with him.
Right.
And it's nuts. Absolutely nuts.
But man, they beat the Lakers the other night.
Yeah.
And he's playing pretty well. He's better than I thought going to the basket. He's got more aggression than I thought.
He's always been in college. He was just one of these, that year when him and Ball were coming out, it was all about, watching those 2 guys because it was going to be weird. They're going to make weird, goofy. It's just going to be awkward. Crafty, Lonzo with his passing, Fultz with his going to the basket and being able to score. It was going to be fun to watch the craftiness and the squirreliness. And then Fultz, just kind of like fell into a puddle.
But he's come back pretty tough.
And yeah, hey, that's all he needed. Just get out of that spot where the pressure's on you and everybody just thinks you're a failure. Go to Orlando and remake yourself.
Yeah.
So I am happy to see that. And him and Morant are going to be vying for rookie of the year.
Yeah,
he learned from Ben Simmons.
Yeah. Good job, Ben. Yeah, still can't shoot, but give me 45 seconds on Kyrie Irving here real quick.
I
don't know if you heard this. His interview earlier in this week.
You're not in this locker room, so
get the bleep out. Oh my God, this guy. Thank God he is.
He posted like another 10,000 word missive about the team and everything, and
he can't get out of his own way.
Everything,
dude.
So bad.
2 days earlier, you said we need to get other pieces. You and Durant are the pieces. What are you talking about? Thank God this guy is gone. I just need 30 seconds on that.
Yeah, I love watching just the dumpster fire that he is.
He can't get out of his... Dude, just stop.
After next year in Brooklyn, he's gone. He's gonna leave Brooklyn, and then he's gonna go to like Phoenix.
Yeah.
Or no, he'll go to some crap, whatever the crap bag team is that year. He'll go back to Cleveland. You know what? I realized my heart. This is where I truly wanted to be. Thank you for welcoming me. This was my true home. I won a championship here, and you know what? They'll go 15 and whatever, and then he'll just retire.
Yeah, me and Braun are gonna reunite. Me and Braun, my buddy Braun.
LB,
please, with this guy. Oh my God,
terrible, absolutely terrible. All right, now we're going to transition into some questions. We had a lot of great questions come in this week, last week as well. Quick reminder: you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at 360 Sports Show. You can email the show, the 360 Sports Show at gmail.com. You can DM us questions. You can email us questions. If you want to like and subscribe to the podcast, you can do so on SoundCloud, through iTunes, through Spotify, CastBox. We're going to be available on Google Play very shortly. So anywhere you want or listen to your podcast, you can go and find us there. Search for the 360 Sports Show. Look for our logo and then hit that subscribe button.
Since we're moving to questions too, feel free to send us questions anywhere. Like we're getting questions on the email, Twitter, Instagram. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, send them.
Just keep sending them in.
Send them anyway, and send them whenever. You can send them throughout the week, and some of them have kind of piled up. And a lot of them don't necessarily. They're just kind of existential questions about sports.
Yeah.
So if we don't get to them this week, we certainly will clean up and clean through the mailbag. Especially, we'll hit. We didn't expect to have this giant black hole of Major League Baseball, which we could have gone further down into, and we will delve back a little bit more towards the event horizon of Major League Baseball right now. This is from Colin. I'm personally very glad that MLB is cracking down on cheating, especially if it winds up harming my team, the Red Sox. However, I don't see any crackdown on cheating saving the sport nearly as much as fixing pace of play issues, as I still find the game in its current state unwatchable. What do you think is a bigger priority, cracking down on cheating or fixing pace of play? Christian, you kind of touched on this earlier.
Yeah.
¿Por qué no los dos?
Yeah.
I think one informs the other.
Exactly. They go hand in hand. So the pace of play has always been an issue for a while, right? Pitch clock thing, they don't want to do that stuff. So they've come out and said they don't want to do that stuff. But this analytics-based, this cheat, the sign stealing, you got to get an advantage, you got to do this, you got to do that, in baseball is one of the problems with the pace of play. They go hand in hand. You're trying to gain so this guy's got to go run down the dugout, come back out, bang on the trash can. He's stepping out. The pitcher's off them. It all ties in. These guys are waiting till 3-2 counts, 10 pitch at bats, and it just goes on and on and on.
Yeah. Jake sends us another email. He's got a couple of really great loaded questions. Part of this is about the Aaron Hernandez documentary. Have you watched that yet?
I have not seen it yet. I plan to watch it this week.
So I will save his part of his questions about the Hernandez documentary until you watch it. I want you to watch it. I highly recommend it. It's available on Netflix, 3-part special.
Yep.
Unbelievable. I thought I knew everything about what had gone on during the whole Hernandez saga. I learned a lot about him, his family life, about how the league handled things, about the cases, about everything. It is really, 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 really good. I highly recommend watching that. So
we'll go into that next week.
That's your homework assignment, Christian.
Oh, thank you.
to watch that.
I love homework.
It's Netflix. Come on now.
It's the best kind of homework. Yeah.
So Jake, we will get to your Hernandez questions next week for sure, as long as Christian does his homework. But other part, he asked about the MLB. Do you think the punishments against the Astros were harsh enough? Why were no players suspended? Should they rescind their wins? And why does the MLB suspend players for things outside of the game? Domingo Germán got suspended 81 games because of a domestic case. Why would this not be tried in court, and then once the trial is over, he can play baseball again? Instead, we have an entire team who cheated to win a World Series, and not one of them is suspended. So were the penalties too harsh? Why weren't players suspended? And should they be suspended when we suspend guys for things that don't have to do with baseball at all?
Yeah, I mean, we touched on it briefly. The suspensions, not unfair, I don't think. Like the amount of detail and stuff that goes into this whole scandal, between running down the tunnel, looking at the monitor, looking at this, looking at the banging on the trash can. There's like intricate things here, and I don't think you're trying to get this crap out of the game, right? And the one way to do it is Manfred pretty much told you, if this happens, if this keeps happening, someone's going to get hammered for this. And I think, just rightfully so. The Astros, they kind of went above and beyond that line. And I don't think it's that bad. I think it's pretty good. Right in line with, maybe a little overkill on the draft picks, maybe just take a couple first rounders. But you had to come down hard to get this stuff out of the game.
You had to attack management. They don't want to attack the players. I think if they had their way, they would. But they don't want to open up Pandora's box. They don't want to unleash just a whole crap storm of information. They want to bury this thing as quickly as possible. And the way they've done that is attack the general managers, attack the coaches, and you just set the tone that this won't be done again. And hopefully, because none of it would happen without those guys say so, in the end, that kind of trickles down to the players. As far as taking away wins,
I don't think you can't really do that.
You can't, because no one, you're not going to go back and say the Dodgers are now the World Series champions for 2017 and 18 and 19.
That's one thing they won't do, is take away titles and stuff like that.
They're not going to take them away. They're not going to vacate them the way they've done in basketball in college. It's not going to happen. I think something, I don't know what it would take for a major league to do that. That could be a discussion for another day. We could try and dig into it and say how bad, what would have to happen for somebody to take away a title. Kind of on more broader, Peter wants to know, is cheating in sports and society inevitable? What does that say about us?
Not great things. But, in terms of sports, everybody's trying to get that competitive advantage. And there's a line.
There's
right?
a line.
There's a line. So we mentioned it. You can steal signs from second base. There's no technology. You're not You're not using your Apple Watch to go to the dugout and tell this guy. But there's that certain line. Like the Astros situation, and even the Spygate, the real big issue with those two things is you're using technology. So one thing was that secret room of tapes that were smashed for the Patriots situation, and then this one with the monitor and the track, like that stuff. There's a line there, and you jump over that line too much, you're done.
Yeah, it's as far as cheating in sports goes, it's kind of like what the Supreme Court said about porn. You know it when you see it.
Yeah.
You know the difference between, on the Philly play, that was an illegal formation by the Eagles. That play shouldn't count. Really? They cheated. Nobody thinks the Eagles cheated in the Super Bowl. Do you try and line up a certain way? Hey, man, let's line up like this, and we're going to put a tight end off the line of scrimmage by a half yard, but he's going to be between the guard and the center. And maybe they won't notice it, and we can sneak him out on a seam route, and he'll be wide open for a touchdown.
Well, how about Patriots-Titans, right? Vrabel's using that little thing with the clock.
Yeah.
It's not cheating. It's just a little loophole.
Yeah.
But then, Vrabel stole something from the Patriots sidelines, that's cheat. There's a line there.
Yeah.
Competitive advantage is going to happen.
Or things like, Brad Marchand, like, cuts holes in his gloves, to try and get a better grip on the stick. Technically, that's cheating. That's an equipment violation. It's illegal. Shouldn't be done. But things like that. Everybody's bending and squeezing and trying. Hey, maybe he won't. Hockey players curve the stick. There's rules about that. Hey, I'm going to bend my stick a little bit more. Just a little. If they don't notice it and I can get through the game, perfect. There's things like that. Now the big cheating. Yeah, I think it's inevitable. There's always going to be a team that wants to push the envelope too far. And they're gonna go further to try, especially when money is involved and livelihoods are on the line. If a guy thinks, hey, I can take this drug and here's a way to mask it, and I can get a couple extra hundreds on my my batting average, and I can hit 20% more home runs and blah 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 blah, and I can get a massive payday and set my family up for life and blah blah. It's tempting. It's all temptation. And
it is inevitable.
As Mr. Smith, Agent Smith would say, it is inevitable.
Yeah, it just kind of is. Like, people are just going to always try to get that little edge on you, and even the bigger ones, like,
it's not a computer simulation. It's played by human beings who, by nature, are just faulty.
Right? Yeah, I mean, pretty much. Yeah.
Cheating. It's inevitable, and I think punishing it it's a case-by-case basis. We have another Would You Rather. Before I get to that, I know some people have sent us personally questions. We encourage you to send us the questions through either the Twitter or the Instagram or the Gmail account, the 360sportshow@gmail.com. I don't know, do you have any other questions that maybe had been sent to you that we haven't gotten to before I get to this last Would You Rather?
Go ahead with the Would You Rather. I'll check. I don't believe so, though.
Okay. So Ryan last week gave us a really good Would You Rather, and it was a very positive Would You Rather. Would you rather hit a walk-off home run to win the World Series? Would you rather kick the game-winning field goal in the Super Bowl? Or would you rather score the game-winning goal? Would you rather poke a puck in the first period, and that's the game-winning goal of the Stanley Cup Finals? And we had fun with that. We love that. I like the games. Would you rathers are fun. Any sort of sports game, thought-provoking questions and comments are good. So this week, Ryan flips that discussion on its head. Would you rather score an own goal to lose in the World Cup Finals, throw a pick six to lose the Super Bowl, or pull a Bill Buckner to lose the World Series? I know you had some time to think about this, Christian. Which would you rather suffer through for the rest of your life?
I'm going to let you go first on this one.
Oh, no. These are so awful because there's different layers to it. Like a pick six, I mean, where does it happen? Like, no matter where it happens, it's bad. Like Peyton Manning bad. Like, right? Like, you're midfield, you throw a pick six to lose the Super Bowl. Or are you on the goal line? Is it a pick six? Like,
That's pretty bad, though.
A pick six to lose the Super Bowl it's bad. It's really bad. I mean, the goal is to not throw the ball to the other team, and you threw it to the other team, and worse yet, they took it all the way to the other side of the field to the house. Pulling a Bill Buckner routine ground ball.
You know what, though?
Between your legs.
I think I have my answer. You want me to go?
Yeah.
I think I'd rather do the ground ball, just because I think baseball is kind of dying. So
you could fly under the radar.
Stay under the radar.
So you're going. So that's where I was leaning, only because if you score an own goal to lose the World Cup Finals, you know what happens? This isn't just football fans. Football fans are after you. It's not just, hey, Red Sox fans, are after you and mad at you. And honestly, we're upset about the play, and you're mad at Buckner, but you empathize a little bit. I'm sorry if you are Argentinian and you score an own goal to lose in the World Cup Finals. You can't return to Argentina.
No. That is insane. See, I would steer clear of that one.
Yeah.
I'm going football or baseball.
So we're working backwards here. We definitely do not want to score an own goal to lose the World Cup finals because you will be excommunicated.
You got
from that country.
ESPN Deportes, ESPN World, like all these knocking on your door, like, "Hey, how are you?"
No, you
just
literally
blew the World Cup. World Cup.
You have to go move to a farm somewhere in the middle of
100%.
nowhere and live off the land. No internet.
Sweden.
You have to pull a Tim Thomas.
Yeah.
You have to disappear.
Bunker up.
Pick six or Buckner. It would depend on who I am. Am I Tom Brady? Do I throw a pick six in like my 15th Super Bowl and it's like I can't win them all? Or am I, in my first Super Bowl ever and I never get back and I threw a pick six to lose the Super Bowl?
They're both bad though.
Bill Buckner, or do I want to be? Has anybody? Who are guys? I'm just trying to think off memory. I mean, Kurt Warner threw a pick six against the Steelers. It was to end the first half. That was honestly the play of the game because the Cardinals are going in to take the lead, and then you throw a pick six, and you end up trailing by even more. Peyton Manning threw one to essentially lose. That sealed the deal for the Saints in 2009. Brady threw one, but it didn't cost him the Super Bowl against the Falcons.
No, but like you were saying, say you're on like the 1 yard line and you do the Russell Wilson, but you have to get a pick six to lose the game. They go back all the way the other way. That's bad. That is bad.
Pete Carroll while screaming. I love watching. There's so many things. This is like the enjoyment of other people's suffering. Like I don't need to watch like Patriots fans celebrate Super Bowl win. No, I want to go see Seahawk fans' reaction to Russell Wilson
100%.
interception.
I do the same thing. Yeah, it's great.
And the best reaction is Pete Carroll when he passes away. Pete Carroll goes, "Oh no!" and then tosses the headset. That's like what you hear like on the last seconds of the black box from like a flight. Oh no! And then, it's God,
not a good one.
Not good.
Okay, two reasons why I would take baseball. Number one, I could probably fly under the radar a bit. I could still live in, my hometown. And number two, baseball, you make a lot of money. I've probably made quite a bit of money, so I'm like, I lost the World Series. I'll go cry myself to sleep, but I have $15 million.
And specifically the Buckner play, even though it was huge, the Sox still could have made... There was still ample opportunity to win that game. But specifically, if you pull a Bill Buckner to lose, like if it's, there's a 2 outs, man on third, ground ball, all you got to do is tag the bag and the game's over.
Yeah.
And you misplay it and the other team wins. No, you know what? No. I'm changing my mind. I'm going to go to pick six. And here's why.
Oh, no.
I'm going to use the same argument. Degree of difficulty. Right? How hard is it to screw up a ground ball? You have to almost try. You have to just ignore almost all your baseball instincts to just not feel the ground ball and tag the bag. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That is so simple of a play to make. You're going down the field. You're trying to score a touchdown. You fire a ball in the end zone. You're just trying to make a play. You're trying to make a play. The pick six is more about what the other guy did as opposed to what you did. And
that's true.
The Buckner play is way worse. Pick six, baby. I am throwing a pick six to lose the Super Bowl.
Not a good answer. Neither of them are.
No, none of them are great.
But I would say
option 4.
Is it a routine ground ball, or is it a line shot and it
just says pull a Bill Buckner, which was just a routine ground ball.
Yeah, that's a big yikes. But I would still go for baseball. Yeah, still going baseball.
Yeah.
Just for the fact that I'm just going to go home and maybe buy a new house with all the money that I've made.
And hopefully that team breaks a curse years later and wins multiple World Series and can bring you back for a little we forgive you, Bill.
Thank God.
That'll do it for the 360 Sports Show, this week's edition. Thank you again to everybody who sent in questions. Thank you for all the likes and subscriptions that we got this week. We want to continue to pump out the shows every week, and you guys are a big help. This show won't be successful without the listeners and your guys' participation. We love it. The questions are the best part of the show. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, 360 Sports Show. Send us questions throughout the week. The 360 Sports Show at gmail.com. We are available on iTunes, on Spotify, on any podcast app. You can find us. If you're having trouble finding us somewhere, send us an email. Send us, find us on online, and we can address those issues for us. Yeah, Christian, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, we're picking up the social media game a little bit. So we have polls and things like that running on Twitter, Instagram. Come interact with us a little bit. Even go back and forth with us. Send us questions there. Our personal Twitters, the 360 Sports Show Twitter, whatever you want to do. But just talk about sports.
I'm glad you mentioned the poll, because just to tie that in, if we're going to do the polls, we had 2 polls this week. The first was before the Cora parting of ways came down. We polled, if Alex Cora is suspended for the season, should the Red Sox accelerate trade talks for Mookie Betts? Pretty evenly split. 54% said no, you can still win this year. 46% said season is lost, trade him. I'm in the season is lost, just trade him now, because he's not coming back. So I'd rather just get whatever you can for him now. The other was, should the players be held accountable as well in the MLB sign stealing scandal? It enhanced performances no different than PEDs do. Or should we only remove the ringleaders like managers and GMs? 67% said yes, just like steroids, punish the players. 33% said no, focus on management.
I think we're both in the yes there.
Yeah, I'm in. There's like subsets which we've talked about in the show. I'm with yes, but if they do, I think it would actually kill baseball forever.
You can't, but I would. You'd like to see.
You'd like to see it happen. Maybe if you find out, guys, or if Altuve's actually got, an Apple Watch
cases
strapped
like
to his chest, axe him. Anyway, that'll do it for this week's edition of the 360 Sports Show. We'll find out very shortly if all our NFL picks are wrong, and you guys can come and yell on us at the show next week. We are trying to set up a call center, so in the near future, if we can put out ahead of time when we are taping, you guys can call in. But for now, continue to hit us up on Instagram and Twitter and via email. That'll do it, folks. Have a good rest of your week.
See ya.